Hello and welcome back to the 12 Yards Out podcast. And today we've got a very special guest with us, a current player, Aaron Tshibola. Aaron, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very good, thank you. Just resting, obviously preparing myself for the new upcoming seasons and stuff. So all good.
You've only just finished up in Portugal, haven't you?
Yeah. So we've not long ago just finished in Portugal. Dramatic end to the season, but yeah, obviously that's all done with, so all good.
For anybody that didn't know how the Portuguese season ended, can you sort of describe what your end to the season was?
Yeah, obviously towards the end, quite disappointing how it finished, but obviously the club had difficulties, obviously making payments of, salaries that were obviously owed to the players for, periods of over 60 days and stuff. So it was quite, a massive shame that obviously it had to end that way because, other than the results and stuff and financial difficulties, I was thoroughly enjoying my time in Portugal. So it's obviously a shame. I understand that many of the players that have, made a career in Portugal have obviously also notified me that it's not Portugal, and it's just a shame, obviously, that the club, puts a bad look on all the other clubs in Portugal. So, but yeah.
Would you have been looking to sort of stay in Portugal if things had been feasible financially?
I mean, I'm not too sure. I mean, obviously, if it was a very good opportunity for myself, I mean, I went out to Europe essentially because it was, one of my targets to, head out abroad and, open out, a different type of market for myself. It was definitely like one of my long-term goals that I always had. So I would definitely been open to it, but also, my family's back here in England. My son, I missed him quite, but a lot. So, with the virus and everything, I had to consider, obviously, that also. I would have to consider that also. So, yeah. So, I don't know. It depends, obviously, on the opportunity. But I probably would have ended up coming back anyway, just because to be closer to family and stuff. After the last 6 months of the virus and football and everything, it's been a tough one.
Because we always sort of bring up the question of why do players who have been in the EFL and the SPFL go abroad, because there doesn't seem to be many of them. But I think the last 3 or 4 podcasts we've had on where players have been abroad. Obviously, your pal Bolly, has been abroad. What is the attraction for players to go out outside the UK and experience different football and things?
Yeah, no, it's again, there's so many pros. One of the things for me obviously was, again, the different type of football, the culture, just there's so many, different things there's so many other things to life, apart from, aside of football, like I said, the culture and seeing how, the lifestyle, how people live out there, learning the language, experience different, experiences in these type of countries and stuff. When you're out there, your family, like it's a whole different, aside of football, there's a whole different element to that type of, experience. So, and of course, philosophy of football as well as, learning a different style, development as well, because again, it's definitely different as well. I really don't know what happened there.
I know what it is. Sometimes it's just with some of the technology. It's been great, obviously, having Zoom, because we can speak to people yourselves. It's cross country, but technology will do its thing.
Yeah. So definitely, I would definitely obviously encourage a lot more players to obviously experience the leagues abroad and stuff. You only gain nothing but experiences and stuff, and football's a short career, so the experiences that you take from the game as well will stay with you for a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been a player, like I've said, I just don't want to say I've played in just in England or whatever. Like I've just said, I want to say I've played in top leagues all around the world. So I feel very proud to say that I've done that in Belgium and in Portugal. So yeah.
What was the biggest difference that you found in Portugal on the pitch in particular? Like a lot of the guys I've spoke to have said in Scotland games are a bit more kind of intense and in your face. England, it's a lot bit kind of more tactical and thought out. So what was it really stood out about Portuguese football?
I think technically, I think that's what it's about in Portugal. I mean, of course, work ethic and stuff, everyone's really on it. Intensities, I was actually surprised at the intensity in Portugal. I mean, you probably do get, more time than you would in the SPFL or in England. But they're very obviously tactical in terms of when they press and where they press, as opposed to like just gung ho from the minute go. But one thing that stood out was like the quality of teams, the quality and how they would set up, how they would play. A lot of the teams in Portugal, I think almost every single team tried to play it from the back, which obviously, not many teams do that as in the SPFL or even in England. So for them, it's like their philosophy is always to try and play the right way, the right way to play football, starting from the back. And a lot of it's technical, but also being physical as well. Like, they also love a battle. They love a dive. I mean, you touch them and they're all screaming all over the place. I mean, some of them probably won't survive in Scotland or England because, be getting kicked all over the place. But yeah, so I'd say like the technical side of the game was obviously the one that stood out for me in the league.
Brilliant. Right, we're going to take you back to sort of the start of your career then. Reading, obviously that was your start. How did you find? Because Reading's a weird one for me. They're like when I was growing up in 2008, they were a Premier League team, but now they seem to be just sort of a middle of the road Championship team. How did you find your upbringing there?
At Reading, I loved my time there. It was the club that nurtured me. It's the club that gave me my opportunity in the Championship. It's the club that obviously, allowed me to showcase my ability. I met, I had lifetime friends, and obviously I met so many people at the club, and they obviously nurtured me into the person I am today and showed me my roots. So nothing but love for Reading. It was literally a family club. They managed to produce loads of young academy players who now have gone on, to have great careers, and who are obviously still going to make great careers. I mean, a few of them now have young players have already gone and left. So it was a really good club. Again, obviously, I ended up leaving after my first season in the champ with them. And so, I didn't really get to have a long period there because also I was like, I got hit with injuries at the time as well, my first season. So it wasn't obviously a long spell when I started my professional, obviously experience with them. But the club was truly amazing for me,
I'm assuming when I was kind of seeing you as well, you were out on loan a couple of times at Reading. I'm assuming the thought of getting booted up and down the park in League One, League Two was a good, gentle introduction to senior football.
Yeah. So obviously, prior to me making my debut, not even my debut, but my run of games in the Championship, because I'd made my debut before going out on loan, but I'd gone out to League Two, which was Hartlepool, and we was bottom of the league, and it was 10 points adrift. And like you said, you're going to games and getting booted left, right, and centre, and you just get up and dust yourself off. But it was literally like that taught me instantly the nitty gritty side and how to be a man. I think I went there at 21 years of age, so I was relatively still young, but as opposed to what players are obviously playing now. But for me, that was like my first time going out on loan and playing. And playing professional football. So I just received the call. So Hartlepool taught me a lot, and then after that, I came back and obviously went to playing at Reading. So that taught me definitely made me and prepared me for my obviously step up to the Championship.
Boley said to us when we recorded with him that as a winger, he would have 2 minutes, well, not even 2 minutes, literally 2 seconds to stop, and then a defender or something would go right through the back of him. As a midfielder in that league, how did you find it? Is it as intense as some people say it is?
League Two?
Yeah, like in terms of physically, it's just a bit of a battle.
Yeah, League Two, it's just a battle, really. I don't think the ball's played played on the floor. I don't think it's even played on the floor. In demand at the moment. Sorry, phone calls coming. But the ball wasn't played on the floor. It was literally just played in the air, and you just had to get on second balls and fight and earn the right to play. And thinking about it now, it literally, that's how it should be, really. Of course, you have the bigger team that earn the right to play with their work ethic and stuff that they go into games. But it taught me, if you don't earn the right to play, you're never going to be given the opportunity to actually get your foot and show your ability unless you work for it. So that definitely taught me that you have to go and do the nitty-gritty things first, and then your ability will come through. So, it was literally, you touch the ball, they're pressing you instantly, you get the ball down, they're pressing you almost pretty much like Scotland, So, if I didn't go on loans like that, it would not have prepared me for loans like Scotland or any of the championship and stuff, So
because it's weird. You see, it's the same in Scotland. Some players that perhaps are a bit more technically gifted are actually a bit better in the Premiership as they are in Championship, League One, simply because of that time. Like we've seen up here, many a player brilliant in the Premiership, but once they drop down a few levels, it's not just one level; they just drop right down the ladder.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. No, of course, the further you drop down, the tougher it gets, for sure.
England, there's so many rungs on the ladder in England. Like I struggle to lose count of it. We've only got 5, 6 in the pyramid system.
Yeah.
But like in England, it's like crazy. There's like 11 or 12 like professional leagues, if you will.
Yeah.
But obviously you came back from on loan and you broke through into the Reading team. How was that for you after spending so long at the club and time out on loan?
Yeah, that was it was a surprise to me, because I think I was actually approaching my last year of my contract. So I didn't really know what I was going to do. I think I'd been planning to head back out on loan. I think at the time, preferably League One or something. And obviously Steve Clark was the manager from the previous season. He stayed on and basically gave everyone a look. I'd come back from League Two, played all the games in League Two from January to the end of the season. And I basically took a few of the young boys, myself included, on tour to Thailand. And I basically did my whole pre-season with Reading. And as far pre-season kept on going, I kept seeing myself. He kept involving me bit by bit into the team, and started nurturing me into the team. Obviously I played, like, for example, like they would have certain teams that would start a certain game and probably would be like near enough the team that would probably start. People would think, and I would be involved, for example, in the two in midfield there. I think at the time it was probably missing a midfield, I don't know. And it was me and another young lad, and I played my first game. I remember it was in Thailand, my first like proper start for Reading, like in a friendly. And I'd done well. I was reliable, nothing amazing, but a young kid that's coming into the team, but shows his maturity to keep the team solid and break up play and be comfortable on the ball and do all the right things. And I kept that level throughout pre-season and right up until the first game of the season. And obviously toward the back end of pre-season, you start seeing the shape of team who's really going to end this and begin the season. And I was in there, and it was looking more and more likely to myself that I was going to be in the team come the first game of the season. And Birmingham came first game of the season, and I was in the team. And again, I had a really, really good game. I hit the crossbar, should have scored. I think we lost 1-0. And then on, I was just in the team. The gaffer was obviously great with me at the time as well. I was quite frustrated because I felt like I should have started a lot more games. It was literally like he was nurturing me, and I was like eager, right? You giving me a taste, I want more. Like, don't take me out. And I remember he used to say to me, like, why'd you keep this is Steve Clark, why'd you keep giving me the evils? Like, I'm trying to protect you. And I can only thank him, because obviously, you know, what you get now with young players is that you throw them straight away in the deep end, and it's all too much for them. They might start off well, they might do well, but then the going gets tough, and because you haven't protected them, now the pressure's too much on them, and everyone starts saying he's not good enough, he needs to be out. Well, what he did was, with me, is like, play me 2-3 good games, and I'd play very well in 2-3 good games, then take me out and put me in the bench, bring me on. And it kind of like kept me hungry as well. But although I was frustrated because I wanted to start these games, he knew what he was doing with me. And that's just the gaffer. Obviously, he's tremendous. You know, why he's one of the best coach, well, the best coach I've worked with, and he's obviously gone and had a great career. And so yeah, and obviously I stayed in the team then, and then I had a few niggles and injuries there, and then I come back, and then but the gaffer was gone by then. I think he had an interview, another job that he went to go and take it, and they sacked him. When I come back, I was pretty much injured in the new year, and for 6 months, and then that was me done.
One thing that just with like young players breaking through, I think not just on the park they need nurtured, but I feel like off the park as well. Like like you probably noticed it here in Scotland, and it's the same in the Championship and the Premier League. It's whenever a young player, like, I know it's a bit of an extreme example, but Jude Bellingham, for example, right? He's just broke onto the scene at Birmingham, and now everybody's talking about him. There's loads of articles about him online, social media, that much, and you sometimes forget, especially in his case, like he's only 17, in your case, like 20, 21. How did you deal with that, and how hard is it for young players to deal with that scrutiny as well?
In terms of like when I made the move?
No, see, like when you were breaking through at Reading, obviously there was a lot of talk and people were talking very highly of you, but when you are going towards the top, you've always got a few people talking you down, as is with life. But how did you sort of deal with that? Because it's a pressure that's becoming more and more common for young players.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it definitely is pressure coming towards more, you know, especially to younger players. I mean, you know, you obviously have younger players who are like coming through major talents and stuff. I think one of the ways I dealt with things like that was just probably to stay off social media, limit my time on social media, and you know, to not obviously let any of the outside noise, you know, come in and allow me to absorb this type of negativity or whatever hype or negativity or positivity, anyway, any type of, you know, information, you know. So I didn't really let it affect me. I just, you know, focused on my game. I knew what I wanted to achieve, you know, bad or good, you know, and I just had to keep my feet on the ground, especially with the gaffer, like not playing me as much as I wanted to, because he wanted to keep my feet on the ground, was a massive help, you know. And yeah, again, would protect me from the hype and stuff, social medias and everything. Like, I would make sure that I'm not too involved with this type of stuff, and that I was, you know, cutting myself away from this so I can actually focus. So it's definitely hard now, because I think social media is a big thing for, you know, especially like the younger generation. I think everyone's on social media now, and they get excited when probably get, you know, the hype, good obviously press, or, you know, good, you know, information relayed that they just won the kid or whatever. So for them, there's like a major thing for them. So they probably want to be online and stuff. But, you know, it's important that, you know, you obviously manage and limit the time you spend on these things, because it could really affect you as well.
Yeah, because I think like agents and clubs as well, just with the way the football market is becoming, and especially with young players, is they're becoming made like brands as well. Like,
yeah,
they're a very big selling point for that club. They almost like need that. They need them to have like an
yeah,
to sort of sell merchandise and different things like that.
yeah.
Obviously, you made your big money move eventually after all the talk. How was it to make such a big move like that to a big club like Aston Villa at your age?
How?
Like how did it feel being so young and making a move like that?
Yeah, it was obviously a massive dream, you know. At the time, I did not want to leave Reading, because I wanted to stay, and I wanted to I wanted to progress with my development. I felt like I had unfinished business with Reading. But I think the club, didn't obviously reciprocate the feeling that I had towards them. And for whatever reason, obviously business reason, they obviously felt like they wanted to sell. So for me, I always had the ambition to play in the Premier League. At the time when I wanted to eventually go, it was like, I want to head into the Premier League. And of course, when Aston Villa came in, along with a few others, I just felt that Aston Villa was obviously a Premier League status club. Like, it was a massive club. They were obviously going to go back to the Premier League. It was inevitable with the team they had, especially coming out with the players that were still there. Although they were going to sell a few, I had to go. And Steve Clarke was also there as the assistant, and Di Matteo, who won the Champions League. Like, it was just, for me, I was just like, wow, this is crazy. Like, this is mental. Do you know what I mean? I'd had 6 months where I was out with a massive injury, and now I've just made a transfer to one of the biggest clubs in England. So for me, it was literally like an incredible feeling. I was just ecstatic. Like, I was just so happy, and I couldn't get started and stuff, and just go in there, seeing the facilities it was just amazing and stuff. So yeah, it really did change my life. Obviously, I was able to go there and play for the club, so it was massive for me.
There was obviously much more expectation at Aston Villa. How do you feel that you coped with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think my time was very difficult. My time at Villa, I think, again, like what you just said, the expectation of what it came with. I mean, people still label me now as the player that went to Villa and for the price tag that he went, and it's stuck with me right up into this. It's stuck with me right up into this day, and that's how people label me. Is he got bought from Villa this amount of money, so like they expect brilliance, which I understand. But a lot of the time, transfer fees haven't got nothing to do with the player. It's the business that the clubs make. And if the clubs have an agreement that they were going to pay the transfer fees, got nothing to do with the player. So now that stuck with me throughout every single place I went. So if not just at Villa, but anywhere else on loan, if you wasn't producing as what the club or fans thought you should be because of the price tag, then you're the first person everyone would look at because of the price tag you'd been bought for. I feel like being at that young age, heading to Villa, not having the support system that I had at Reading, like that family, that family type feeling club, I think it really affected me as well, because I didn't have anybody I can go to if I was struggling or if I felt down. I didn't have anybody I can speak to, especially when they sacked Di Matteo and then Steve Clarke quite early on in the season, and then brought in Steve Bruce, who was very firm. He was very assertive with his approach, to coaching and to the players. And I didn't know him personally, so it was very difficult. I couldn't just go and speak to him on a personal level. I didn't feel like he was going to speak to me about what why and what needed from me, and it was tough. So for me, I just didn't know what to do. I had no one, and although I met some really good people at the club that helped me along the way, I just don't feel like me as a young player, I took it. It was difficult for me to actually adapt, so.
I think that's probably the two parts of football that maybe fans don't quite, maybe not understand enough, but don't quite kind of have that knowledge of how it works. Kind of the transfer fees, first of all, kind of a £1 million player is not necessarily much worse than a £5 million player, as you say, it's the business side of it. But also the kind of process behind, like, joining a club and not having that support network, and it's like going into a new job for most people. Also, you've got the added weight of expectation that comes with having transfer fees.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, I don't think like you said, many people are aware with what it comes with, in terms of transfer fees and stuff, what it comes with. And essentially, yeah, he could be a £1 million, £2 million player. It's not really, like I said, it's not very much far off. But I think, especially at that time, people obviously assuming, obviously, with the amount of maybe the games I'd played and how early I just come onto the scene, and the price tag was obviously the type of price tags that were obviously flown about. Maybe Reading felt, because of the type of interest I was getting from other clubs, they felt they could up the type of price. But of course, it has every sort of effect on players. When they head into clubs, of course, like, people understand the type of maybe pressure or type of hype it comes with heading to a club for some sort of transfer fee. No matter if it's 5 million or $1 million or 2 million or 500k, it comes with some sort of added expectation, and but that's the game. Of course, we as players can't complain. We just got to do our job and obviously prove that, listen, that's why they paid that money. And I was never a player that complained about the price tag, or it's the price tag, it's got nothing to do with me, or cried about it. And I just got on with it, and obviously always tried to do my best. So
yeah, that's just the way the market's going in England. I can mind watching the Sunderland Till I Die stuff. Have you seen that, James?
Yeah.
You've seen where they're trying to negotiate Will Grigg's transfer? Oh, it's
where
they were trying. Have you seen it? The Sunderland Till I Die documentary. Like, basically,
okay.
right, it basically shows you, and I don't know if you're up to it yet, but it basically shows you how they negotiated Will Grigg's transfer on deadline day. Now, this isn't so much Will Grigg, but like, they'd set a price. Like, Sunderland had went to Wigan and asked for a certain amount of money and said, right, we're going to pay that full stop. I think it was something like 1.5 million, for example. I've not got the exact figure in my hand.
Yeah.
Then they ended up by 11 o'clock, they paid 4 million for him.
Wow.
It's like crazy, but that's just that to me, from us looking down here from where little money in Scottish football, shall we say, we look at the Championship, League One now, and it's like, it just seems to be chucking money about for chucking money's about sake.
Yeah.
There was an interesting one. I think it was yesterday. It was Danny Murphy had said it just kind of shows about the transfer fees. Liverpool signed Andy Robertson from Hull for £8 million in the same summer. Kevin Stewart went the opposite direction for £8 million.
Yeah.
Which one's the better player? I think both a very, very similar fee, but one's now a Premier League winner and European Cup winner, and the other one's, well, he's not an ex-Queen's Park player.
Yeah. No, definitely, man. It's a crazy market, man, and again, it's only gonna fluctuate, and it's only gonna get worse anyway.
Is it a good thing or a bad thing for a player that the prices seem to be? I mean, maybe with COVID, like, the prices will come down marginally, but you'd like to think with the TV deals that are going on down south that it'll eventually go on. Is it a good thing or a bad thing that prices seem to be going the way they are?
I mean, like I said, if a player is producing on the pitch, then why shouldn't he be labelled a 50 million or 5 million or whatever? How much they're going to be labelled at? As it's one of them ones. Of course, we know that in certain markets, for example, the England market, it could be they can over exaggerate with prices. They obviously with the English players and stuff. But again, like we said, if they're doing it bits on the pitch, then you can't argue, really. Do you know what I mean? But of course, like, everyone's going to, the market in England, of course, players are overpriced and stuff. But again, it's like you see certain players moving for a certain amount of players, so then a player that's proven has got to go for double, because it's just like, so it's just a crazy market. And yeah, I don't see it lightening down, to be honest with you.
Well, if anybody wants to buy me for 5 million or this podcast, then they can leave their comments in the description. I'd quite happily take that type of transfer fee. Obviously, we were out on, well, before I go into the loan stuff, obviously you spoke about Steve Bruce. Now, to me, he's a bit of a meme for people of my generation. He's obviously had a great career in football, but he seems to be on one of the last of the run of them. See, like your Alan Pardew's and Sam Allardyce's, he seems to be sort of one of the last remaining on that run before the sort of new generation comes in.
Yeah.
Like, how did you find your time with them?
Again, obviously, Steve Bruce obviously had his philosophy and how he's been successful everywhere, pretty much everywhere he's been. So it's obviously worked. I mean, for myself, I don't think I was given much of an opportunity because obviously I think he had these core experienced players, which I think he's obviously had everywhere he's been, where he's kept these core experienced players, physical men that's played nearing 100, 200 games already in their careers, and he was obviously going to lead the way with them. And so anyone young who wasn't ready or hadn't been nurtured yet, maybe wasn't given as much time as they would like, as I would like. So in that case, he obviously jeopardized my playing time. I mean, he came in. I think I started one game when he came in. Was the Wolverhampton game, and then I was pretty much out in the cold for a good 4 or 5 months, or good 4 months. Yeah, and then I was back in the side for January, and then I had a good few run of games because obviously I'd worked hard, and he's seen that, and then he played me against Tottenham and Cardiff and Wolves again, but. Again, he just had his squad and he opted to buy players in that January window, and buy like 2-3 other midfielders, so who were undeniably on form in the champ or had been proven already in the champ, like Henry Lansbury, Conor Hourihane, which they had championship experience and they were on fire at their relative clubs. But for me, as a young player that the club invested in, I would have thought he would have obviously given me the time to establish myself and to invest in time to help me nurture. But I understand Aston Villa, as the club they are, they don't have no time for that. So it was literally Premier League, and that's what he came for, was Premier League. So in his mind, maybe he didn't have the time to play someone who might make mistakes, who might not adapt to his philosophy straight away. So our relationship was just so really. I mean, we had a few discussions where we'd speak about, obviously my time, my game, and the limited game time and stuff, and how I wanted to eventually go out on loan because I didn't think I was having the amount of game time that I wanted. And he always told me the truth. Really, he never heard anything from me. So yeah.
Did you ever pull him up about his fiction writing?
His what, sorry?
Fiction writing. Do you know?
No.
Do you know about this, James? Right. I don't know if you know, right? But he wrote basically a set of books in the 90s, like proper action novels. Steve?
Yeah.
I've got one of the. It's quite funny. Where is it? He wrote one book called The Defender, a book about the kidnapping of the club's janitor.
No way.
You were this time, weren't you, James?
Yeah, I was. It's funny because for me, I always remember Steve Bruce as being like that ex-Man U defender. That's kind of who I picture him as.
Yeah.
But guys like Ben's age, he's the kind of slightly comical Newcastle ex-Villa manager.
Yeah.
It's a very kind of odd juxtaposition of him.
Yeah.
You sort of look at him now and he's sort of that cool uncle that you'd quite like to have around at your Christmas party type thing. That's the way I look at him. But I mean, obviously after your time there, you were on loan a couple of times. One of the clubs was Forest, another massive club in the Championship. How big is that club?
Yeah, massive club. I mean, when I joined there was going through many problems, many difficulties. They just had sacked their manager, and so they had the academy manager at the time. So, in all honesty, I joined the club at a very difficult moment, very difficult period. No manager in place. I don't think they had a director of football. So I was heading to the club in difficulties, and I came in, and essentially the academy manager was taking over the side, and he played me at a few games, and I think we lost two heavy defeats to Fulham and Norwich, like 4-0 or something like this. And he then obviously opted to play his younger players. He's the academy manager, so he wanted to go with the younger players. So completely shifted the team. I don't think he knew as well that he was going to be there long term. So why not try a chance with the younger players? That was what his aim was. And then obviously left a lot of lone players aside. And then Mark Warburton came in, and he was really good. He was really good. And I had a good relationship with him as well. But again, obviously, it's tough when you're a lone player and you're going back to your club and the club are dependent on players, or they think they can depend on the players who are at the club because they think lone players might have a different mentality in a relegation battle. So, I hold nothing back to, Mark Warburton for obviously making the decisions. But again, obviously, it didn't allow me to have the minutes that I wanted to have. And so, yeah, we stayed up, which was obviously a massive achievement for Forest because they were a massive club, like you said. They didn't nowhere near deserve to be getting relegated. And then, that ended at the end of the season. Not many games played at the club, but again, a great experience to obviously see and be at a massive club and stuff. So,
but how did you not get in the playoffs this year? Like,
who? Sorry,
Forest. Like, how did they not? Like, they were going in.
Oh, yeah.
You don't really watch English football games, but like they were like, I think it was 3 points clear.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, they bottled it.
Like 6 goals ahead of like Swansea, and Swansea still somehow finish above them.
Yeah, they bottled it. Swansea scored 4 goals. It was mental.
Crazy. They're one of the clubs as well, a bit like Leeds, that are a proper like establishment Premier.
Yeah, for sure.
They just seem stuck in that league. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you're ever getting out of that league. You just seem to be stuck there.
Mate, it's it's that league's it's a tough league. Everyone could be anyone.
The Championship this year especially was really good. I don't usually pay.
Yeah, the Championship was really good. Yeah, it was exciting. Yeah.
On the last day, there were still 5 or 6 teams that could have went down. 4 in the playoffs. It's probably, in terms of excitement in the last couple of years, it's probably provided more unknown factor than the Premier League has.
Yeah. No, definitely. Championship has been amazing this year, so definitely.
You at Forest as well. What was I going to say there? Can't even mind. Anyway, we move on. MK Dons was your next spell.
Yeah, MK Dons was next. Was
it interesting to go sort of back down the ladder, if you will, in the Football League? Yeah,
well, do you know what? I think that move, I just chose to head down to League One and Milton Keynes because, it was, again, a massive club. Been in the Championship a few times, big history. And I just felt like I just needed, it was going to be the club that was going to give me the games I need. I said maybe I needed to take a step back to get what I want and what I needed, which was a season full of games with no, again, changing clubs and whatever, and or 6 months periods or whatever. And I felt this club could go back into the champ. They were highly favourites to go back into the champ. So I was running a massive club, and I think it was them and Wigan. And Wigan ended up going up that year, and MK ended up towards the bottom. So obviously, it would have been different if we went Wigan, but yeah. So yeah, I ended up going there, and we just had, with the players we signed, many Championship experienced players and stuff. With the players we signed and the team we had, we should have done a lot better, and it just never went the way we had planned, and it was literally like crazy because it never went the way we planned. It never went the way I'd planned. I was played in the wrong position. I was utilised in their attack on on the wings, and that's not my position. I never essentially made the move to Villa or started my career at Reading as a winger or as an attacker. So for me, it was like, you brought me to this club as one of your main players, but you're playing me in the wrong position. I can't give you ultimately what you guys are expecting me to deliver. And again, being labelled as player from Villa with the price tag, playing in the position I was playing, they expected goals. Schools expected goals. They expected, me to actually, run riot in that league in the number 10 position because maybe my physicality and stuff. And I understand that, I believe I can do these. I have these attributes to do that, but it's not where I started. I'm a midfielder now and out, and so we had the misunderstanding. The manager at the time, Robbie Nelson, obviously didn't think that I was delivering what he wanted, what he expected me to deliver for the team, and then that ended up short. Although I played every single game, I think it was like 17 games or whatever. That ended up short in quite early, which was I think September, October. Ended very early, and that was cut short, which was a very, it was a shock to me, and that took a massive, it was a massive turning point for me because I felt like this is crazy. Like, how is this? What's happening? That was a very, very big step for me already to head down to League One, and many times you don't make that jump in League One. It's very difficult to come back. So. Which I never obviously had. I never had any doubts with that, but it's just like, it really affects you, especially the profile you are going down to League One, and they ended up cutting your loan short. So it was
I'm assuming that was MK Dons' decision and not yours.
It was MK Dons' decision, the gaffer's Robbie Nelson's decision, and he just sat me down and said, "Listen, I'm going to send you back to Villa." Not really planning. I think financially they were paying quite a bit to Villa, so it was setting them back as if they didn't feel I was delivering for them. So again, you're looked at one of the main players. If it's not going right, you're looked at as one of the main players, which I understand. But I just felt like I was not utilised in my right position. I was looked at as the one that was going to go and score 15 goals or 10 goals, or 15 goals, 10 goals from the number 10 position, or from the left or from the right. Whereas I never started as this player in my career. It's never been me. And eventually that season I left. Early in that season, the club finished, I think it was like 17th or 16th in the league, so they had a bad season anyway. But yeah, so that was a bad end, unfortunately.
Obviously, Robbie Nielsen put back over. That was his wee spell away for Scotland. They'd done well at Hearts, and then people were quite surprised at the time, really, when he went to MK Dons, because he had Hearts second in the SP, the Premiership here in Scotland, and then he went down to League One. And then he went. He didn't do very well. I don't think he was particularly bad at MK Dons. He just didn't do very well either.
Yeah, no, of course he didn't really. MK was a big club. They had the philosophy of playing a certain way, playing a certain type of football, and I think they kind of lost that type of way, MK, that, the MK way, attractive football. I think has always been attractive football that plays, big stadium, very good facilities, very good pitch. And it just didn't obviously go to plan for him, and didn't go to plan for the team and for us that season. So it was difficult, yeah.
Then a call came from, and you've spoken about him a couple of times in this podcast, Mr. Steve Clark. From the way you're speaking, I get the feeling like he's almost like your adopted football father. But he's been at a couple of clubs and you seem to really respect him highly. So I can only imagine he was a big part in you switching the border for the first time.
Yeah, 100%. He was a massive part. He just told me, listen, MK, whatever, I've been in Villa in reserves for like the last 4 months, obviously, because I couldn't move until January. They weren't happy that the loan had gone that way. I think we might have lost out on money, whatever, but they weren't happy. And so it'd been a long, long time for me without any football, 4 months, just in and around the first team reserves, playing. I don't think I could play reserve games as well. So it was very tough. And then January gave me a call and said, listen, give you an opportunity to come play games. What do you think to come here? And yeah, I just said, listen, I was just up for it. I felt I needed to do it. And then I came there, and obviously Scotland was another experience for me. It was another, another chapter that was going to obviously open in my career, especially after the last year, possibly from MK and on the Forest and everything. It was a very tough time, so I had to find my feet and get up and go again. So the gaffer was obviously going to give me the opportunity, so I couldn't say no. He's the one that knew me the best. He knew what I could do, knew my attributes and stuff, and I just felt like who better to go back to obviously to the gaffer. So that's what I did, and obviously, you know, yeah, obviously came to Killy. So
it must have been a whirlwind few months for you, going from having your loan at MK Dons cut short and then spending 3 or 4 months in the reserves at Villa to joining Kilmarnock, and then I think maybe about a month or so later you made your international debut for the Democratic Republic of Congo. So it's like a hell of a turnaround from effectively not being good enough for MK Dons to being a fully fledged international.
Yeah. I mean, I think in terms of myself, I've never had any doubts on what I can produce and what I can deliver. I mean, it's just always been about, you know, my duration at these places. You know, MK wasn't long enough. I had that cut short. Forest, 6 months, never had played much games. Villa, obviously, turnover again, transition, new coach, everything. And then it's like, I just went to Killy and it was like, right, you know, I'm in this environment. You know, the gaffer's here. I think there was a few boys that I knew already there. I felt good. I felt comfortable. You know, I felt like I, you know, took a bit of a while to get on my feet to adapt to the Scottish game. But then after I did it again, and then, you know, my name started getting about again, and after good performances and stuff, and then of course the national team were obviously aware that I was playing again. And you know, a lot of the time they come for players in the top division and stuff. And then again, like you said, it was just like, all right, national team now. So it was like you said, it was football's a funny game, and it was a quick turnaround, definitely. And 1 minute is low, 1 minute is high, and that was definitely one of the highest points in my career so far. And again, it wouldn't have happened without the blessing of the gaffer to help me and to come over there and be playing and getting the minutes that I needed in my body, in my legs to get to the level that I know I can get to. So
it's more duty bound to ask when MD comes on that's been in Scottish football for a brief point in time. How much about Scottish football did you know other than Celtic or Rangers before you came up?
Yeah, I didn't really know much about Scottish football, to be honest. I know I had a few mates that were there that was playing. I mean, Jordan Jones I'd known for quite a while at the time, Hartlepool, and Mulumbu I knew at the time that was there. Glenn Kamara was at Dundee, so I knew briefly, you know, that the lads, a few of my friends were in the Scottish League, and you know, again, it was top league and stuff, and obviously Celtic Rangers, and yeah, it's just it was obviously a good market to be in, to head into England or wherever you want to go to. So, but for me, it was just my thought of just play your football, enjoy it again. You know, I was still a Villa player, so for me, it was just nothing about financial. It was just about playing. And so I didn't care what it was going to be like, or what the league was like, or who was in the league. It just was about playing, you know. So
Daft as it might sound, did that kind of start to whet your appetite for moving abroad? Because all right, Scotland and England, they're not exactly foreign countries to each other. But I mean, for a guy like yourself who's lived in kind of Greater London, Birmingham, to then come up to Kilmarnock and Livingston and Inverness and Hamilton, it's very different. And then you also went to Belgium and Portugal after that. So just kind of think that was kind of take you out of your comfort zone and got the kind of juices flowing for that.
yeah, no, definitely, it was definitely. Again, I'm all for experiences. I mean, the great thing is that I was able to humble myself before coming to these places, and tell myself that you've seen the great things, but you haven't been, you know, you haven't been like, you've witnessed also the, you know, how low from League Two and how things could be. So I already had that experience of being at League Two clubs where facilities are not great. You might go somewhere, York or something, play York away and stuff. So I already had that experience. Again, of course, like you said, being at the Villas and Nottingham, and also being accustomed to certain facilities or certain things that was just obviously luxury. Going to maybe a Livingston, I didn't go to Ross County, but
you don't get the experience.
yeah, but yeah, like going to Livingston or going to somewhere like that, it just felt normal to me. It didn't hit me or shock me at all. I mean, I just wanted to play. It was just whatever. It didn't bother me. I wasn't thinking about anything like that. Of course, artificial pitches and stuff just new, but I just got on with it. And I think the main thing, you've got to be humble. And if you're not humble and you think you're bigger than what you are, that you shouldn't be at these places or playing at these places, then I think that's when you will struggle, you know. So
that was just such a special season for Kilmarnock. Steve Clark's peak of his powers whilst at Kilmarnock, and ended up finishing, was third. That was the year Kelly finished third, wasn't it?
Yeah, that season there we did not finish.
Fourth, then third.
Fourth, then third.
Yeah, we didn't finish third then. We didn't finish in Europe then.
Yeah, it was the following season.
Yeah. So it was the season after that, came back, and then we finished. We had finished third that season. Wow.
The job he did there, like Steve Clark, is by all intents and purposes was, I don't want to say miracle worker, but I mean the squad he had, it was a bit like Muller's this season finishing third. Probably a squad that perhaps shouldn't be there. Perhaps if you look at budgets, finances, etc., should be above Kilmarnock, but there you were up in third and managed to get European places.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, for Wiz, and we had the great squad that season. We had the great squad. I think everyone was on it every single day in training. The gaffer set levels that we couldn't slack a day in training. It was intense. It was competitive. You know, it was fun. You know, we had experienced players. We had young players. We had the right balance, but we never gave a day in. You know, so we reaped our rewards from the end of the season finishing where we did. So.
It's been interesting to see. He's not really had a chance to properly show what he's all about yet as Scotland manager. Obviously, he'll be close to the nation if he manages to get Scotland to the Euro 2020, 2021, whatever it's called now. But
yeah,
you've obviously seen firsthand. What is it that makes his coaching so good?
Again, he's very affirmative with what he does. When it's go time, it's go time. He obviously has the balance where he can obviously have a laugh and stuff, but when it's time to train, it's time to train. And he wants everything done 100%. He gives you the instructions and you do it, and he does it and he tells you in the most calmest way, but the most, most affirmative way, so you understand the information he's giving you just by the sound of his voice. Like there's no stutters, there's no humor or anything. Like it's just like, I need you to do this for me. You go there or do this, and you listen and you do it. And so, the gaffer obviously with his experience in the Premier League and everything, there's nothing you could do other than just listen and take on board what he has to say. And everyone was on par with what he was trying to do. So
probably the other one I want to ask you about is Alex Dyer, obviously Kilmarnock manager now. How instrumental was he to help with Steve Clark in that period?
Yeah, he was very instrumental as well, because when, for example, we couldn't have the gaffer there, or if he was away or whatever, and he'd take the sessions, and again he'll implement his way into the sessions. His instructions that he'd give us, he'd be the motivator. He'd motivate us, and everybody had the same respect for him as we did for the gaffer. And so, that was massively important as well, because, he just wasn't watching the gaffer do everything. He also, put his obviously foot down and obviously told us when we needed to do things better, and when we needed to do things, what was doing things right. And yeah, the respect was always there. I think it shows now, obviously, with the lads being, with the Kilmarnock boys obviously being happy with him being obviously appointed as new manager. So
you saw that he's don't want to say he's got a bit to prove this season, but last season his start after, and I don't know if you kept up to date with the Angelo Alessio period at Kilmarnock, but it was a bit, after so much success, it was just a really turbulent few months, and then Alex came in as manager on an interim basis and pretty much lost every game between November and December, up again in January, and now he's obviously got the full-time gig. But it's going to be interesting to see. This will be his first full season as a
Yeah.
at this level, because I think he's only managed non-league. Like, as a first,
Yeah.
been a really good coach around English circuits, with Huddersfield and things like that. But this
Yeah.
first season is on his own.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I mean, he knows how the gaffer works. He knows he brought back the core players. I mean, I think Kirk Woodford and stuff was out, obviously, when the new Italian manager took over. So he's got almost the core players who was obviously there with Steve Clark and stuff. And I think having the pre-season, from what I understand, is, the Italian coach would obviously took a lot of the players out, that was there before, the core players out, took them away. The training sessions weren't great, and the lads lacked fitness. So, I mean, one thing I know is that Alex Dale will definitely be giving them a kick up the arse and giving them the fitness that they need to obviously attack the season and make sure they're ready. And I feel like that he'll be fine. I mean, as long as the team obviously will be able to be in shape like there was with Steve Clark, and be able to be professional and not concede and hard to beat. I mean, the rest will take care of itself. So
there were reports going about here that you were close to a move back to Kilmarnock in January. Was anything ever close, or were you comfortable in Portugal at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was discussions. I think there was discussion before I was leaving Belgium with my agents and stuff. But I think there were just discussions to see what was going on and stuff. But obviously nothing was able to facilitate because, again, I felt like I wanted to continue my adventure in Europe. And I felt like it was another great opportunity that I didn't want to turn down in going to Portugal, because, it doesn't come too often. So I just wanted, obviously, a new experience for myself to develop a new chapter in my career. Playing in Belgium, I just played, which was, of course, a great experience also. But I wanted to develop now the experience of playing in the top league in Portugal against some great clubs, which I was able to achieve. So, that obviously wasn't able to make happen in January. So, yeah, well, yeah, they're my homes. I mean, Reading's where I was nurtured, and Killy's is where we did great things. And again, gave me an opportunity. It's a wonderful club. I met some wonderful people there again, and obviously see how it plans out. So,
the best thing.
Obviously, once your original stint at Killy come to an end, the great adventure started.
Sorry.
Once your original time at Kilmarnock come to an end, the great European adventure began.
Yeah.
So can I just talk to us about how that came about, first of all?
Yeah, so these European clubs had seen my time at Kilmarnock, so they had been obviously, watching me from my time at Kilmarnock. And yeah, I was literally approached by clubs in Europe, actually, not just the Belgian clubs in Europe, when I was leaving Aston Villa from the season I had at Kilmarnock. So it goes to show, of course, it brought me great, it gave me a foundation. It brought me, obviously, the interest that I generated, and brought me the opportunity to play in Europe, which I always wanted to. So, it was, it just goes to show that, of course, like, you just never know who's watching, and no matter where you're playing, I know many people think you might not be possible to make that leap in the SPFL, but it's definitely possible. So,
what is the sort of, I don't get. I think obviously the bog standard move for an SPFL player, if they do well at, say, St Johnstone, they go and move to Fleetwood Town. But that's the bog standard move. But if you're moving to, I don't know, I can't think of any Greek Belgian teams off my head. Ghent, for example.
Ghent. Yeah.
Like Ghent's like a fairly decent club, been in Europe a few times, but
yeah.
Because we are quite introverted here, and we don't really pay attention to
Yeah, it's normal. Yeah.
Belgian league and stuff. We just go Ghent. Nah, and away down to Wood or Wickham or such places.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. I've got my mind. Everyone's got a different mind. People are obviously able to be in a comfort zone, to be home, or to be near enough to home. I think, like, at my age, if I had the opportunity to go and experience another level of football, another level, living lifestyle culture, I've always been open to it, and I will still always be open to it. What I have learned is obviously be mindful of the type of clubs you go to in Europe, because it could be a difficult situation. Definitely, what I've learned. I mean, if you're going to a club and it's a very good structured club, good platform, good great foundation in Europe, a lot of the time, it's totally different to obviously in England and Scotland. It's a great experience. So yeah, it depends on what players obviously have, the expectation, their ambitions. But yeah, I understand obviously in this PFL, like, a lot of the time, maybe the moves could be like, it could be like what you said at Fleetwood, but also could be to the Championship, or could be to, if you're good enough, Celtic Rangers. And sometimes if that odd move abroad. So,
is there anywhere abroad that you've kind of got a real desire that you would like to go? And kind of, I know some people might be like, I'd love to go and play in Spain or the US. Is kind of one for you that you'd really like to go, maybe just to sample the whole package that goes with it?
Yeah, I mean, having obviously sampled Belgium and Portugal, one place that I would love to play in would be Spain. I think Spain, and probably France also. I say Spain because I grew up again watching some amazing players. Players that I grew up watching when I was a kid playing in La Liga. And I feel like that league it's of course up there with the Premier League, and it's a well-respected league. It's got everything. It's got, of course, the technical side of the game is just amazing. The way teams play soccer is just amazing. And it's just, again, it's an exciting league, and it's something that I would love to go and experience one day in my career, and also develop the understanding of the language. Also, I would love to learn also Spanish, something that I've also tried. But again, it's definitely, I would also often go to Spain on holidays a lot of the time. So it's definitely a country that, that I really like. And to play also my football there would just be like, the icing on the cake there. So definitely Spain. And France, I say as well, because I just feel like it's a very, very competitive league. Like, I feel like it's a really, really good league where you can showcase, not many players obviously can go there, and it's a very dominant physical league, but it's exciting. Again, anyone can be anyone, of course, PSG, but it's an amazing league also, so I would definitely like to, them two leagues, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, with Spain it sounds more like, obviously you'd want to go and play your football there and that'd be great, but it seems like you really want to embrace the lifestyle as well. I know my favourite thing when I go over a nice wee sangria on my balcony, but
Yeah.
it seems like if you were going over to a country, you wouldn't want to do what Gareth Bale's doing in Madrid, and he's just sitting there with cigars.
Yeah. No. When I say embrace, like, you've got to remember you have a life after training and after football as well. A lot of the time, a lot of players have so much time on their hands once you finish training, games and whatever. So what do you do? So again, you obviously got to think about, if you've got families as well, like, you obviously want to embrace, somewhere where it's going to be interesting, the culture, the lifestyle, where you can, go and experience it, something totally different to England or Scotland. So that's very important also. But as well as the football is obviously a massive, it's obviously massive as well. But I think the lifestyle, of course, is important as well, but not a large or a massive decision. But it's obviously a large part of any sort of decision as well when you're moving somewhere as well.
Brilliant. Well, I've really enjoyed this, James. You've got one closing. You started asking our guests.
My last putting people on the spot. So yeah, I've started asking guests we're having on this because nobody ever seems to know which team footballers support. So who's your team?
Yeah, no, my team is Arsenal. I mean, I kind of went on a period where I was glory hunting a bit with City, but I'm sticking with Arsenal. Arsenal's my team.
At least you admit it was a bit of glory hunting with City.
Yeah, no. I'll say it was that I fell in love with the football they were producing and stuff. Who doesn't? But Arsenal's my team at heart. I won't let them go.
Well, it's better. Mate Bolly says he's a Manchester United fan for Oxford, so I'll give you that.
He's miles off with that fella, so.
Fair enough. Right, really enjoyed having you on. Thanks again, and hopefully we'll see you. We'll maybe see you in blue and white stripes here at some point, but we'll definitely see you somewhere on the footballing ladder. Season. Subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, and Podbean. And until next time, take it easy.